Thank you. A very big welcome to our last event for what for many has been a totally exhausting but rewarding Race Equality Week 2023. The focus of today's event will be a whistle-stop summary of what happened during the third ever Race Equality Week and a chance for you to share ideas with each other. I'm Raj Tulsiani. I'm the Chief Executive of Green Park. I'm also the Chair of Race Equality Matters, which I co-founded with Javid from the Collaboratory. Thank you for joining us. It's good to see you all here today. We're expecting around 150 organisations from 100 different cities and towns, ranging from Coventry to Cardiff, Dundee to Dublin, Ascot to Atlanta, and Barnsley to Beijing. We hope that you've all had a positive Race Equality Week. For heavens, we all know that there's still plenty to be done, but there's also some things that have moved forward and some things that we can celebrate and share. Before we start, a little bit of housekeeping. We acknowledge and are looking to help make our events more accessible in the future. Any help or sponsorship around that would be fabulous. We'll be recording this event for you to access later along the slides. Closed captioning has also been enabled. Your sound will be auto-disabled. But if you have any questions along the way, please put them in the chat. And hopefully we'll be able to respond to them and avoid the 440-person chat room we had on Wednesday afternoon. Please do tweet your support and post social media content during the week and afterwards. Now, we're really trying to create a big buzz so people come to the site, they see what's working, they have the opportunity to implement it or use it for free in their own organisation, so people cannot ever use money as an excuse to not try and get progress in this. So you can see our handles there on the right. All of this wouldn't be possible without the support of our partners who, alongside Green Park, are helping fund Race Equality Matters. A huge thank you to Lloyd's of London, our newest key partner, who are also powering Race Equality Week with Green Park. And also a big thank you to our lifetime visionary partner, British Telecom, who helped us get the thing off the ground. And our current partners, Auto Trader, HS2, Edelman, and Network Rail. It's important that we acknowledge their support because it means that we can run Race Equality Week and Race Equality Matters and allow people to access our resources for free. We are a non-for-profit. We're very keen to remain sustainable and make an even bigger, greater impact in the years to come. So we are in need of further funding. So if your organisation or you would like to get involved with funding, sponsorship or marketing opportunities, please do get in touch to find out more. So today's session hopefully will be energising and we've got lots of packing. We'll aim to close on the dot at 1:15. So what are we going to do? We're going to share some highlights from the week and give you a chance to share your week with each other. There will be polls so we all know who's in the room, how we're feeling about things. We'll hear the experience from two fantastic Race Equality Network leaders, Angelina Moreira from the Environment Agency and Natalie from one of our founding partners and recognised trailblazer at HS2. We're also joined by Richard DeNetto from the CBI, who leads on the Change the Race Ratio programme. And we will be exclusively announcing at the end, the date for Race Equality Week 2024. So without further ado, let's start this first poll and get an idea of who's in the room. Blaze, if you could launch a poll, please.
Thank you for participating in the opening poll. And it's great to see that 57% of you identifies ethnically diverse or an appropriate equivalent, and then the remainder as an ally. So welcome, everyone. Question 2, how or what position do you see yourself or are you in your organisation? We have 18% senior leaders, 10% from HR, 25% D&I, 24% race network members, 16% race network leads, and 32% being other, which is great. It's showing that there's a wider spread of interest in tackling race inequality. With 1/3 of you here today not being in the typical roles. So very welcome, everyone. Question 3, which activities did your company do during Race Equality Week? As you can clearly see, 54% did the 5-day challenge, Next highest was 28% doing the big promise, which is great. And we know, it's still alive today. So more will be doing it later in the day. 25% organised internal events and 22% did My Name Is. Question 4. How was Race Equality Week for helping your organisation tackle race inequality? If we take out those that didn't take part, 68% of you said it made an impact. Question 5. In your organisation, who do you think is playing a key part in tackling race inequality? Consistent with our polls throughout the week, 64%, so nearly 2 in 3 of you, believe ethnically diverse colleagues are the ones that are driving it. 47% say D&I function. Great to see 44% saying leaders, but only 24% believe managers are, and 22% the HR function. Sadly, 1 in 5 here think very few people are tackling it. So hopefully our solutions will help change this. Question 6. In your organisation, approximately what percentage of those who are not ethnically diverse are tackling race inequality? 78% believe less than a quarter are, which echoes that very few are making an impact. Only 6% think 3/4, or 16% think more than half of those that are not ethnically diverse are making an impact. So we still have a way to go, hence the theme, it's everyone's business. Question 7. Do you feel your senior leaders and managers are committed to tackling race inequality? So 55% said yes, but 27% say not sure. So obviously there's some additional comms maybe needed in an organisation to determine whether their leaders and managers are committed. Question 8. How much effort is your organisation trying to make race equality everyone's business? The theme for this year. A fair amount or a great deal is 52%. So more or less half of you, though, it's a little, not enough, or not at all. So organisations aren't looking at making race inequality everyone's business at the moment. Question 9. How is your organisation addressing race inequality? Just talks, does very little or does nothing, 17%. Talks and does a little bit of action, 48%. And the important one, focuses on action, change and impact, 30%. So 1 in 3 here today. So we need to get the other 2 in 3 to up their game. Has your organisation done anything that has made a noticeable impact on tackling race inequality? So 41% of you say yes, so we'd love to hear from you to find out more. So thank you for taking part in the first poll. So what happened during the week? So still happening, and we're putting the information together, but now would be a great time to hear from our first speaker. So it's a real pleasure to introduce Angelina Moreira from the Environment Agency, which works to create better places for people and wildlife and to support sustainable development. Angelina is the lead for Black, Asian and Minority Ethnic Network at Environment Agency. Her focus is to empower colleagues, enable them to thrive. She supports the network through a variety of activities, such as Safe Space and Networks drop-in sessions, as well as a series of programs to create awareness of individuals' mental health, which is so important, and career development support. I will add, not on a CV or bio, it's Angelina's non-working day, so we are doubly grateful for her to spend her time with us today. So thank you, Angelina. So we briefly in advance, it's 3 minutes. So can you tell us in them 3 minutes why you think Race Equality Week is important, what the Environment Agency did, and how you're going to continue the momentum for making race equality everyone's business?
Thank you for the warm welcome, Javed. Thank you, everyone. I'd like to offer a reflection on why Race Equality Week is important, because racism doesn't take a day off. It's important that we acknowledge that at this precise moment, our ethnically diverse communities are hurting due to racial inequalities and injustice that we're witnessing across the globe. Racism surrounds us as we take a bus, as we pass by the bank, at our workplace, and as we worry whether or not our children are safe at school. 1 month is also not enough to discuss race, because we must encourage the continuous awareness, the education, and engage and empower our ally communities. Within our organizations, we always always promote the Race Equality Matters events. It brings a unified approach across different organizations, and we focused in particular on the 5 days challenge this year. It's been shared across the organization through internal communications, colleagues actively sharing via different channels, and with the support of our network champions and sponsors, who in turn share with their teams, who are also adding further resources to support any conversations that may arise from the challenge. Across the organization, it's important to acknowledge that the impact of racism within individuals' mental health needs to be at the basis of the momentum that we're trying to create, guaranteeing that any actions that are put in place are supportive of our ethnically diverse communities in what regards mental health. So at a network level, we've delivered mental health awareness programs with an NHS senior psychologist. We have our themed network drop-in sessions for members, allies, and any colleagues that wish to join us within that space, promoting learning and fostering relationships across the organization. On a local level, we have initiatives from network area leads as well, running sessions such as Ask Us Anything About Race. We always also have an amazing allies team that run allies volunteer groups, book groups, intersectional events, and effective allyship discussions. It's also important to be aware of the lack of representation at a leadership level. With this in mind, we've worked with our executive directors team and have created a development opportunity for a colleague from an ethnic diverse background or global majority background to join the team meetings on a monthly basis, ensuring that within that environment, within the setting, there's a presence of diverse ways of thinking. Across the organization at the moment, our operations department, for example, is running workshops entitled Being the Only One in the Room, From Imposter to Empowered. We're seeing budding schemes being put in place, career and development programs, and other departmental connection programs. We also have our national EDI team who are reviewing the big conversations on race that the organization has put in place in the past year, and they're looking at relevant lessons learned from those conversations. The team has launched an all-staff survey on race, and the results are also showing that 78% of colleagues are now more confident in identifying racism within the organization. The summer of 2022 also saw the delivery of a summer diversity internship program, and we continue to embed culture through the organization, with our executive directors deciding to ensure that further work on race will be integrated through business units for clear accountability and delivery. Also with this, we're seeing career entry schemes and sponsorship programs. So this is just to give you a flavor of what we're doing. If you wish to receive any further information on some of the initiatives we have within the Environment Agency, we're happy to share it with you.
No, fantastic. So much rich stuff there, and see in the background some people applauding, which you can't hear because we've muted everyone. Love it. And just for everyone else, say we have the full version of this video afterwards, but also what we'll do is from the speakers, we'll take out their 3-minute excerpt so you can sort of like share amongst your colleagues and learn what great organizations like Angelina's have been doing. So thank you very much for your time. So I said it's whistle top, I'm going to keep moving. So without any further ado, I'm going to introduce our second speaker, Natalie Rose, Corporate HSS Manager and Co-Chair of the REACH Network, which is the Race, Ethnicity and Cultural Heritage Network at one of our founding partners, HS2, whom also a Race Equality Matter accredited trailblazer. HS2, as many of you know, are building Britain's new high-speed rail line from London's northwest with almost 30,000 employees. Natalie, excuse me, Natalie believes equality, diversity and inclusion in the workplace is also linked to workplace safety and well-being, echoing what Angelina just said, and hopes that through her work in both areas, she's able to create space for everyone to feel safe and secure at work. So Natalie, thank you for joining us. Please unmute yourself. You can't do that. Can someone unmute her? Let me see. Donna, right, bear with us on that, sorry. Because you come on the other thing, isn't you? Okay.
Can you hear me?
Yeah, we can hear you now. Sorry, thank you.
Great, thank you.
Yeah,
Thanks, Jared.
Okay, that's okay. We said don't use iPads, everyone. It gets messy. Thank you. So questions to you were: why is Race Equality Week important? What did HS do this week, and how are you going to continue this momentum going forward?
Yeah, thank you very much, and good afternoon, everyone. I echo quite a lot of what Angelina said about why Race Equality Week is important. It's important to me personally as a Black woman. It's important to me as a representative of quite a diverse organisation and as part of the construction industry. There's been so much going on over the past few years and in my entire life, which makes Race Equality Week important. Why is it important at HS2? We take it as a moment to pause and reflect. There's always been a bit of a subjective view about how we view awareness days, awareness weeks, awareness months. But I think we take it at HS2, and particularly as the Reach Network, as a point for us to pause, get the attention of our organisation, align ourselves with our EDI teams and strategies, but also really connect to people who might not necessarily have race equality at the forefront of their mind in their day-to-day. So what we've done throughout this week, in the weeks leading up to Race Equality Week, is we've reached out to our senior leadership teams. We've strongly encouraged them to participate in the 5-day challenge. We've had members of our executive team and our senior leaders, as well as our Reach Network membership, reaching out to us, sending us videos about their updates and how they felt about the challenge, etc. And we've been sharing that with our membership. Throughout the week, we've had a number of events. We have of course, encouraged our members and members of HS2, which may be on the call today, to attend the Race Equality Matters events. We've also put on our own. We had a panel session on Tuesday, which was entitled, Why is it everyone's business? And that was people from inside the business and within our supply chain exploring why race equality is everyone's business. That was a fantastic, really well attended event. We also had another event which looked at equality versus equity and explored that. It was a seminar led by our events co-leads, and they really just went through and had an open discussion, again, attended quite well throughout our supply chain from people. We have also been issuing what we call a daily drop. So every single day, including today, there will be an email that comes out from our network, which explains what the challenge for the day is. That's aligning with the 5-day challenge, and sharing a video from someone who's participated in that challenge, and we've been sharing that far and wide. We have also advertised our activity for this week on our intranet pages, and we've buddied up with our SLTs and asked them to talk about it within their own team meetings. Again, just so we have that chance to and the opportunity to pause and reflect. In terms of keeping momentum, as I mentioned earlier, Race Equality Week is a great way to pause and reflect, but race equality should be the bread and butter and part of the heartbeat and drumbeat of organisations, in my opinion. So what are we doing to maintain that momentum? We're, of course, pushing the big promise, but one thing we have looked at is making the big promise part of an EDI objective. At HS2, we set equality, diversity and inclusion objectives every year in April, and we've encouraged people to think about how they can make their promise part of an EDI objective. So there's a constant reflection on that. And again, as I mentioned earlier, another thing that we are doing is, as a network, continuing to align with the aims and objectives of our EDI team, EDI strategy. Our CEO is the exec sponsor of the network, so we're constantly in touch with him to understand how our business feels, whether that be through surveys. And we're also continuing to raise awareness of these really important days that impact the cultural calendar, just to highlight, sometimes directly and sometimes subtly, that race equality is really, really important at HS2.
Brilliant, fantastic, thank you. And reflecting what Angelina said on some of the stuff to do, but also other areas, which is brilliant. So some of you may see the reason I'm in a purple top today, and because purple reflects the big promise. So I'll just briefly go for those that don't know about it. So the big promise was created by the network, and we looked at 15 race charters that exist out there already, and we pulled out the must-dos and determined which ones will make most impact. But what we worked out in an organization, there's 4 kind of key groups of people: board, exco, C-suite, with a lot, obviously, power and privilege by their hierarchy, senior leaders, allies, and ethnically diverse colleagues. Now, what's important to know, there's a magnificent 7 set of promises, but they're different for each group because of where you sit in the organization. Next slide, please. Next slide, please. So basically, we've got a big promise tool. It's free. You go onto the website. This might be a bit small, but I'll show you something in a sec. Anna's going to put the link in. You just pull out your details and you choose which category you fall in. What we suggest, if you straddle a couple of categories, put the most senior one because that's where you have most power. Next slide, please. Then what you do is you choose one. All we're saying is do one. In this case, Donna chose 3 promises you're going to make. Next slide, please. Then press a button and magically it creates what I call a big promise postcard. Next slide, please. And in the social media world, we upload our photo so that there's a photo of Donna in there next to her promises, as you can see there. And then what we say is it's all about being accountable and transparent. So next slide, please. So as you can say, here's some people that have made their promises on social media. And as I said, once you've done that, it's easy to give them a nudge. You said you were going to make this promise 3 months ago. How are you doing with it? And it's great what Natalie said, making it part of the EDI commitments. Next slide, please. Going to introduce Richard DeNetto from head of change race ratio. Bear with us 1 sec. So I'll go through him before we show, give you a chance of what I talk amongst yourselves. So Richard heads up the Change Ratio leading business campaign to accelerate racial and ethnic diverse representation in UK leadership teams. Richard manages the campaign's community of business leaders and EDI and directors, bringing signatories together to share good practice and crowdsource solutions to challenges. So we're fantastic to have Richard here and supporter of Race Equality Matters and Race Equality Week. So Richard, in your 3 at a time, gave you 2 questions. Why did you and Change Your Ratio think tackling race inequality needs to be everyone's business? And what did you and your members do and what did you notice?
Brilliant. Thank you, Javed, and thank you, Raj, for putting Race Equality Week on. It's hugely important, hugely impactful. So what do I think is everyone's business? Well, I think Raj summed it up right at the start. If it's at the moment, it looks like tackling race equality is the responsibility, or it seems to from the polls, of a marginalised group, and how can a group in the minority affect the majority without getting the majority on board? So put simply, we just won't see the change that we want to see. So I think it's everybody's business, and especially I think it's the leadership responsibility. Yeah, and I don't mean leaders being notionally responsible for a race ERG. I mean leaders being held accountable. I mean, metrics being built into performance incentives so that actually we can start to drive the change that we want to see. And if leaders are role modeling good behavior, do you know what? It sets the tone, it sets the culture in the organization, the expectation, and the agency to call out racism when they see it, to everyone to be an active ally. So I think it's everybody's responsibility, but I think leaders have got a huge part to play in making the change happen in their organization. So what have we done? What have we done this week? And what have our signatories been up to? So we've got 120 signatories. So keeping track on what everyone's doing on Race Equality Week has been a challenge, because there's been a lot of organisations that have been taking it up, which is absolutely fantastic to see. But from our side, we've been publishing some practical advice and guidance on psychological safety, and on the summation of a knowledge exchange that we did last week on how to drive data disclosure and reporting. So some real practical tips that are borne out through good practice sharing. I'm not going to say great practice sharing, because I think at this point we're all in good practice sharing, and how can businesses learn from each other to achieve more together. And I was in Newcastle this week talking to a room of CBI members on race equity, a bit about change the race ratio, absolutely, banging the drum about Race Equality Week, although actually news has already made it to that group and to that room, which was fantastic to see. But we had a really lively debate, and I think tried to tease out some good practice and actions that business could take. We discussed the importance of language and shared experiences on actually, I think language around race and race fluency and race confidence is evolving, is changing. It's changed in the 2 years that I've run this campaign. And how can you keep up to date with language? How can you make sure that you don't use language as or a lack of understanding of language as a barrier for action? I think we can learn and take action at the same time. We also discussed this principle of sponsorship, not mentoring. Ethnic minorities, for far too long, all marginalised groups, we generally say that they've been over mentored and under sponsored. It is actually responsibility. Let's use the power of sponsorship. Let's use the power to elevate ethnic minority voices to rooms they're not in, and have allies actually use their power and influence to protect and also to talk up colleagues to make sure that actually we get diversity around the decision table where it's needed. This point of a trusted 10, this concept that came out, that actually a really simple way for perhaps you use it with senior leadership team, perhaps you use it in your next management board meetings, of actually name your 10 closest trusted advisors, and then look at that list. How diverse is that list? Where are the gaps? And there go and do something about trying to find and source gaps in representation. Is there gender balance in there? Is there diversity balance in there? And if not, is there a educational balance in there? Let's go and solve those, because actually if you get a trusted 10 that's more balanced, you'll be more innovative, you'll make better decisions, and you'll have better outcomes. Finally, there's been lots of signatories. As I say, it's been really hard to keep up what's been happening, but from City Mental Health to EY, Cranfield, AMS, JLL, Auto Trader, First Group, partners at the Carey Foundation have all been engaging with Race Equality Week and helping to raise profile, and I've seen just a huge groundswell of support for the campaign this week.
Brilliant. Thank you very much, Richard. Thank you for nudging organizations along. I think a couple of things you talked about. One was language, and in the 5-day challenge, we did talk about words. They can be hurtful, and difference between banter, microaggressions, and also getting people's names right. And the other thing you said about your network, and so one of the questions in the 5-day challenge is, what is your network like, or who are your friends, and who do you work with? How diverse a mix is it? So very valid and good topics. I like the top 10 concept you mentioned. Thank you very much. So just before we give you all a chance to share what you've done amongst each other, if we can just do a whistle-top tour of what happened during the week. So as you know, it's powered by Green Park and Lloyd's. Very important that we acknowledge that it's all doable, because there is a cost, but it's free for yourselves. But these fantastic organizations support us. Next slide, please. As you remember, it started at the beginning this week and it's still going. Next slide, please. What we found during the week alone is 61% of organizations do not focus on action, change, and impact. There's lots of stuff, but not focus on them. 70% say it is ethnically diverse colleagues that play a key role in tackling race inequality, as Raj talked about. This is the standout group. Next slide, please. 62% indicate that 3 in 4 allies are not active allies. So, and that's a really important topic about sort of stepping up, and the big promise allows that. Next slide, please. 100% believe allies are crucial. So, allies in the room, you play a real role in being part of the change. Next slide, please. Only 24% believe managers are playing a key part, and we know about the sorts how stretched they are in a sticky middle, it's called sometimes, but that's an area number we need to improve on. Next slide, please. 94% believe making it everyone's business will make an impact. So the focus on making everyone's business is absolutely crucial. It's great that the 3 speakers have talked about how they've and their organizations are doing that. Next slide, please. Hence why the theme for this year it's everyone's business. Next slide, please. Next slide, please. Crude calculations at the moment, numbers still going, 4,500 organizations engaged, and there's just some of them. And between these organizations, next slide, please, we're reaching 4 million plus employees. So, making everyone's business is a way like that. It was, next slide, please. Thank you. Early counts is UK, Ireland, Germany, India, Nigeria, US, over 200 locations, and China are joining us today. Thank you. And it's featured in railway stations reaching hundreds of thousands of people, and Network Rail supported us by promoting a video to encourage organizations to engage. Next slide, please. And through social media, we're reaching an audience of 20 million plus. We're still doing metrics on that, but that's again, many of you in the room have been shouting about this, which is fantastic. So we're getting more people to know about it. Next slide, please. The 5-day challenge, which most of you know about, it's now this slide is about 2-3 days old. It's 700 organizations have now got engaged with more than 2,000 employees, and 75% believe it's more or significantly more effective than other diversity inclusion initiatives to tackle race. So again, what Natalie, Angelina and Richard talked about, there are elements in here to help us educate. 5 minutes, 5 challenges in 5 days. Next slide, please. Okay, and the big promise, which we talked about, so it's live, and it's day 5 of the challenge as well, actually. So after all this talking and everything, this is about being active. Can we just see an organization that has actually going to run it? Thank you. Couple of things to point out. So actually, Green Park and their colleagues did it before Race Equality Week. You don't have to do it just Race Equality Week. I think Angelina talked about it's all year round. And I do notice some of them very cleverly use my handwriting where you can't read their promises, but we'll find out what they wrote. So fantastic. But it's just showing different ways of an organization uniting and making it everyone's business. There were senior leaders there and new junior staff, etc. As you can see, here's just some of the social media that happened around the world. Next slide, please. And it was happening in offices, schools, sports, councils, stores, communities. So it was happening everywhere. Next slide, please. Action drives change. And one way we did that was, next slide, we're having a fantastic array of speakers this week sharing their expertise. Next slide, please. So here's just some of them, and again you can access what they said and quality content, and I'll just say why you should look at what they've said. Next slide, please. So 81% of those that attended our events said they learned something new. So you go to loads of D&I events where they learned something new, and 83% would look to implement something they learned. So there must be something special that this is not what Raja or I said, this is what these speakers said. So they know what they're talking about, like we've had today. And 94% would recommend the events to others. So again, real good quality speakers. So we must thank them. Next slide, please. Some feedback from the community, a brilliant event. I've attended so many D&I webinars, etc., and often felt like we were being taught what we already know. The approach of Race Equality Matters is current, practical and easy to implement, and I think them last things are quite key. We try to keep it simple. Thank you. Next slide. So what difference does Race Equality Week make? Because we've always gone about impact. So next slide, please. So 74% believe it will help make an impact on tackling race inequality in their organization, and and a catalyst, etc. Next slide, please. 77% think that the 5-day challenge will help make tackling race inequality everyone's business. So we've been talking about it needs to be everyone's business, but here's a solution that helps you. It's in the palm of your hands, make it everyone's business. Next slide, please. For the first time ever, senior leadership have come on board. So the big, huge no doubt. We know without leadership involvement, we can't make progress. Next slide, please. It's been inspiring and practical, and I feel galvanized again. Next slide, please. So much to take away and share with the organization. I feel like a kid in a candy shop. I think it's that last line that made me smile. So I'll get a t-shirt with that one, I think. Race Equality Matters is such a brilliant organization with brilliant tools, and these tools are created by the community. We're just in the middle of it. Thank you for an inspiring week, and to all the speakers. So please take a bow of the speakers. Thank you. Okay, next slide. Thank you. So this, and as I said, Network Rail was supporting us, and they played this video at their stations up and down the country. Next slide, please. audio's gone down based on the video. I apologise for that. Play, jump to the next slide, please. Thank you all for taking part in the closing poll. It's great to see that 94% would recommend today's event to others. And we'd love to hear from the 6% that were not sure to find out how we can make it even better in the future. But what was great to see that 98% found it helpful to hear from the speakers. So a huge thank you to all of them for contributing and sharing what they did and the impact they made during Race Equality Week. Question 3, were you aware of the 5-day challenge and the Big Promise tool? 54% of you were aware both, 18% just the 5-day challenge, and 2% just the Big Promise. 26% of you, so that's 1 in 4, were not aware of either. So again, you may have been new to this, or we need to look at how we improve our communication. So thank you for sharing. Question 4. Do you think the Big Promise will help make race equality everyone's business? Fantastic to see 78% saying yes. No one saying no. The other 22% not sure, and that's fair because you may have not experienced or seen the information yet. Question 5. Will you and or your colleagues make a big promise? So 80% of you here today said yes. No one said no. 38% colleagues and yourselves will, and 20% of you, you're not sure yet, and that's fine. Question 6. How easy do you think it will be to get your organisation to agree to adopt the Big Promise? 40% of you are not sure, and 27% of you find it impossible or with difficulty, which only leaves 37% thinking fairly or very easy. So again, it's a challenge for organisations or yourselves to get the support of your organisations to help make tackling race inequality everyone's business. So thank you again for sharing. Question 7. Do you think the 5-day challenge will help make race equality everyone's business? Again, fantastic. 74% saying yes and 25% not sure. So that's great to hear. And question 8. In comparison to other DEI initiatives, how effective would you rate getting everyone to make a big promise supporting the drive for race equality? 67% of you believe effective or highly effective, which is fantastic to hear. 2 in 3 of you think this is significant compared to other DEI initiatives that you may have looked at in your organisations. And final question, please indicate which may be of interest. So 52% of you finding out more about Race Equality Matter Trailblazers and will be in touch soon. 42% other Race Equality Matter solutions. So we'll be sharing information about future workshops for them. 15% speaking to someone about posting jobs on the jobs board. So thank you all for your feedback on that. And yeah, we can build our solutions and how we can support you and your organizations going forward on the back of these results. So thank you.
Well, thank you all for joining us today. Also a huge thank you to the companies who've actually done something, the minority businesses who supported us, and our speakers, Angela, Moreira from the Environment Agency, Natalie Rose from HS2, and Richard DeNetto from the CBI. Remember, it doesn't end here. For those of you who saw those awful pictures of that black schoolgirl being attacked outside the school in Surrey, you know, we know that this is real and no organisation should deny that this needs to happen in society. But people are paid to work and they should be behaving in a certain way, and it's the responsibility of leadership to ensure that that's happening. So it doesn't end here. Do check out our other free solutions if you haven't done so already. If your organisation would like to donate or sponsor for future events, become a partner, please do get in touch. You know, we're doing this on the shoestring. I know some of you have kindly donated, so thank you. Also, you know, as individuals, do sign up to our website if you haven't registered already. so you can stay up to date with everything Race Equality Week that we're doing and what's in the pipeline and the smart things we find elsewhere, and signpost people to that as well. We'll share the recording soon. We can't change the past, but we can unite to shape a more inclusive future. The UK has got a massive productivity gap, and the cheapest way of dealing with that is including ethnic minorities on a fair and open basis to fail or succeed in our workplaces, and that is in every business's best interest. I'm Raj Tulsiani, and I approve that message. Thank you very much.